obviously you collect, but you also take this as a sort of an investment. So, where do you see the hobby right now? Because Yizzy and I, we were just having a conversation earlier, and he thinks, as far as content goes, content's kind of going back to pack openings. You can see that going back towards that. But as far as the actual market goes, we've seen a lot of stuff retrace. We've seen prices go up. Obviously myself and many others, we bought cards even at peak prices, even on the runway up to prices. We saw that. So where do you see yourself right now? Do you see yourself still buying more and more Pokemon? Do you see yourself sort of taking a relaxed approach right now because we're in this sort of bearish? I wouldn't even say bearish. Like, we're growing sideways at the moment. We haven't really gone down completely. Like, we're holding at this specific resistance level as far as Pokemon goes. So we really are right now in a buyer's market, so to speak. Like, we're seeing pretty good prices as far as first edition Shadowless Charizards go. Like, you can buy one right now, like a PSA 7 between $7,000 to $8,000. Nines are going for $31,000. So, like, where do you see yourself right now? Where do you see the overall state of the actual investment side of Pokemon?
I think it's in what is it called? A more of a like knowledgeable state. Like, I think it's more of a the people now are approaching it differently than before, because before it was like a bull run, like everybody's just, I don't care, I'm buying Pokemon,
right?
And I think now it's more of a like people are actually doing their research, but that's why I think like the base set in the first edition and all that stuff blew up for a while. But then they started to realize like there's a lot more than just this first edition stuff, and that's why I think like the base set in first edition, the prices kind of started going down because people, they like that, but then they're looking at this other stuff now. They're like, gold stars, or what is this, the shining Charizard, stuff like that. They're finding out like the popularity, the population.
I didn't really think of that.
They're just like, it's kind of like with crypto, Bitcoin is popping off. Everybody's buying it, but then Bitcoin starts to kind of like even out or kind of go down a little bit, and all the altcoins start going up because people are like, wait, there's more than Bitcoin,
right.
There's all these
people realize that when you make more riskier investments, you have that opportunity to basically have a higher profit margin. But like what you're saying is something that I didn't even really consider, right? Like, we saw prices go down for, obviously base unlimited is truly unlimited. There's such a huge population as far as base set goes. Like, once everyone saw that, everyone wanted to get that stuff sent off. Like, I even saw a video on PokeRev's stream of one guy literally sending off 118 base, like just showing 118 base set Charizards.
Was it that guy in United Kingdom in the UK? Was that him?
Yeah, they had like all those cards. Yeah.
I wonder if he got it back yet. Very curious, because the way he was shuffling them, I was like, oh my god, because they were like not sleeved, and he's like, check out my collection, and just like shuffling through it. But
I mean, he could have been pretty delicate with it. You never know, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
But I know that was a lot of cards. That was a lot of cards.
So like, essentially, like what you're saying is that because of where that initial interest for base set was, that probably introduced a lot of people to the overall side of Pokemon. And then they started getting more educated on Pokemon. And so they started looking at gold stars. They started looking at Neo Destiny Shining. And that sort of makes sense because those, like when you look at the Neo series as far as Shining Pokemon goes, that's sort of retaining a little bit of its value there. And so is gold stars. Gold stars are retaining its value relatively well in this current market. So
those type of things I've noticed, like even my like Pikachu, like I said, just like a month ago, someone offered me like 9,000 Bitcoin for it, and I was gonna take it.
You said 9,000 in Bitcoin, like $9,000 in Bitcoin.
$9,000 in Bitcoin, yeah. Wow. And I was gonna take it, but then I was like, I like it too much, Was
that when you DM me? It's like, hey, would you rather take Bitcoin?
Yeah. It was such a choice because I like crypto too.
Yeah.
But I kept the card, even though, just because I was like, I still think though, I don't know if base set and first editions can go up again. It just, they can vary, but I really do think that a lot of these other cards are kind of like still in the baby stage, undervalued for the general public. Like, not everybody knows about them. So I think that's what's happening, is the money's trickling to the other sets that people, like you said, like these gold stars and these Neo Destiny, like they're holding their value, or at least staying there, or some of them are going up. Some of them.
Yeah. I mean, the unlimited stuff has gone down. Like my PSA 10 unlimited Shining Charizard is like what now, like $4,000, where at peak was like 14. So it is a huge retrace. But like when we talk about like overall first edition stuff, like first edition Shadowless Charizard is still maintaining its value at PSA 10. First edition Neo Genesis Lugia is still maintaining its value. So I think like with the conjunction of sheer rarity, not absolute rarity, because absolute rarity would imply that there's an exact amount of cards as far as the population goes. But as far as sheer rarity and difficulty to grade and overall demand of some of these cards, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, these cards are still growing in value.
Yeah, and also like you get to see like a lot of these old school cards, because like a lot of the base set in first edition were like old school, like old certificates and stuff. And people kind of notice like when they're starting to be like a weaker 10, they're starting to take notice, like, this doesn't look like a normal 10 to me, So I think like that one Charizard they just sold recently, I think it was maybe 350 it went for.
Buy now.
Was it 350? Yeah, and that was low, but you look at the card and you're like, dude, that's like an 8 or less, like it's
So the one that sold for 250,000 was basically an 8 or a 9. A lot of people were being harsh on the centering, but there was another 10 that sold, which was a true 10, sold for 350K, which is exactly what the market is as far as that value goes. Currently speaking, the cards are still undervalued. It's just that it's kind of difficult to really see. I mean, obviously this is an entire speculative market like Bitcoin or any sort of cryptocurrencies. But
you never know. You never know. It could all be worth nothing, but it could be in 20 years. Like I say, you never know. I'm still on the 20-year route, 20 years, you never know, what things are going to be worth.
Because this market's powered by nostalgia at the end of the day, unlike other currencies or other investments,
Right.
Yeah, and also you have to understand, like, the people in this era, like when Pokemon started popping off, a lot of these kids in 20 years or so will be the ones that have the money. So they're going to be the ones that are going to be like, I remember this. I want this.
It's a vicious cycle Pokemon has created.
So it's always going to be nostalgia. There's no doubt in my mind my son's going to be like, oh, I remember we used to open XY evolutions, and I remember we used to open, that's their base set. That's their nostalgia. And so, and then if those cards obviously are going to be hunted, then all these vintage stuff, is going to be, and it could still be in a different, really good place,